Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So earlier tonight, I was at the Apache Junction Public Library. You guys may have seen that I've streamed a couple of times from there. They have various events. Every Wednesday, there is some guitar lessons, and there was a sewing club. They had sewing machines. I hadn't seen one of those machines since I was a kid. I didn't even know they still made them. And I got to mingle around with younger people. You may have seen that it's mostly like teenagers. But you know what? I wish I was as old as they. It helps that I can pass almost as a teenager sometimes. I look very young for my age. And I'm actually about the same age as Mary Curry when she became widowed right now. If I traveled back in time, I could be her second husband, right? Although I look so young for my age. And I don't think she wanted to get married, even that first time around. But that was the norm at the time. But I could still pass as a teenager. So it's mixed bags. I really get along with this generation a whole lot better. One day I was at the college. I was listening to some kids talk about 18, 19, 20-year-olds talk about an event. And they're talking about food to bring there. And I overheard them talk about asking if anybody would be offended by various food allergies or religious preferences or whatever. And I'm thinking, God, when I was 18, nobody ever thought about that. I had to not go to events where food was going to be a problem. Not only did I have allergies, I had just transitioned into a healthy diet, and I often didn't want to be around those foods. I was tempted by those foods. Today, that's not so much of a problem. Um, but even to this day, here in 2024, when I hang around other millennials or Gen X people and I refuse food at a party, right? I was recently, one of my colleagues had a party at her home. She's Gen X, I want to say. And I still had to explain why I was refusing various foods. Now, it's I hate it. I don't think she had bad intentions, but she doesn't recognize that forcing somebody to explain, like she wants to prepare food that would be suitable for me next time around, right? Good intentions, all very good intentions. But some people fail to recognize that in the process of, I don't want to do that in front of the other guests at the party, right? This is something that maybe we should talk about one on one, not around the other people, right? It's kind of like asking, imagine, pretend it weren't food, right? Pretend she was being well intentioned and had prepared some natural medicine for me, right? Which is what food really is. Right? She had prepared some natural medicine for me because she recognizes that I am a high functioning autistic, right? Let's say. And she asks you, "Oh, how should I prepare this?" And you wouldn't do this in front of your other party guests, right? You probably wouldn't even do this alone, right? But for some reason, we turn a blind spot when that natural medicine happens to be something that is produced by a big corporation, right? And is publicly consumed in front of everybody at a party, right? And it's really bizarre when you zoom out from 30,000 feet. A lot of things get really bizarre when you zoom out from 30,000 feet. Don't stick your head in your bubble, right? But younger generations don't seem to be confused by all that. In fact, at the party, the reason she stopped asking that was that the younger people were kind of giving her a dirty stare about it, right? And why does it need to take that in order for her to recognize how crazy her behavior is, right? I didn't understand that. Later on, I pointed this out to her, and even then, we were one on one at this point. Even then, it took her a good 10 minutes to figure it all out, right? But that's good. I love educating people on this stuff. Tomorrow, there's an event at the college, and once again, I will really mingle well with these people. Younger generation, they don't seem to have a problem, right? Sometimes I go to an event and there's offensive food, and I put on latex gloves, right? It's a board game event, and people don't even see that I'm doing that, right? I don't have to explain myself. I guess it helps that not that long ago we had another event where people were putting on masks and all that. So now when people see protection, it's not a big deal anymore, right? And also this younger generation, the students at the college, some of them are over 21, by the way. None of them have this idea that drinking has to be involved. They have to sneak out to drink. In fact, one day I was talking to some of these students, and I had talked about how being sleep deprived is kind of like alcohol, right? It feels so good while you're doing it, but eventually you have to suffer some bad consequences, right? You end up sleeping through the day, missing out on stuff. It's like a hangover, right? And this was such a foreign concept to the kids. They were like, "Oh God, why would you drink?" And I said, I've never drunk, but I have witnessed other people who have been through hangovers, and it's not pretty. So I'm glad you guys have these attitudes. That's a huge, stark difference from when I was 18 years old. I had classmates who were regularly sneaking to drink, and I had one classmate who almost got kicked out of school. He was majoring in chemistry. He had stolen a bottle of ethanol from the chemistry lab and drank it at home, and he ended up very sick. The ethanol from a lab probably has other stuff added to it to keep you from doing that, and he ended up having to have his stomach pumped in the hospital. And I guess it came to light that he had taken the bottle from the chemistry department. I don't know what happened, but somebody notified the school about where that ethanol had, probably to find out more information, right? Because he was very sick. And so long story short, wind surfaced to the school that he was stealing chemicals from the chemistry department to drink, and so he almost got kicked out of school. I think he had to go through rehab or something like that just to stay in school, but he continued to drink anyway. It sounds like, and this younger generation, doesn't participate in that, and on the occasion they do, they don't expect others to follow suit, right? There's a whole lot less peer pressure to do that. Now, I was thinking if tomorrow I woke up and for some reason I became 18 years old again, oh my God, I would thrive in this environment, right? Tomorrow, if all the knowledge I've accumulated since I was 18 disappeared and all of my assets disappeared and I became 18 again, I'd make that trade, because the environment of today. See, when I was 18, I started my PhD work at a different school. I ended up in Rochester, New York, but I got in trouble at the first school that I went to, University of Pittsburgh. What had happened was we were using a desk, and I thought it was unhealthy to sit at the desk for 8-10 hours a day. So what I had done was that I had gotten the number of books off of a bookshelf to put my computer high up like this so I could stand at my desk. I didn't think very much of it. I didn't realize that the books on they looked very old. I thought they were somebody's like books that they had forgotten. I put them under my computer. We were sharing an office with a couple classmates. One of my classmates came back to the office and he started screaming out of the top of his lungs that his books had disappeared. Had he just gently asked me, "Have you seen my books?" I would have told him, "Oh, I didn't realize they were yours." But he screamed in such a threatening way that I got scared out of my mind. And so I walked out of the campus to let him sort it out. When I came back, my computer was back on the desk, and I figured that he had figured out where his books had went, and that was it, right? I thought it had blown over. But he was so upset that he complained to our dean and all that. And I was embarrassed because at the time, I thought I was being weird for wanting a standing desk, right? In retrospect, first of all, if it happened today, first of all, I probably wouldn't have taken his books. I would have gone to HR and say, I'd like to be standing more. Do you have a solution for how we can rearrange my computer? I think nowadays an ask like that is very normal. At the time, it wasn't, right? And second of all, I think nowadays people are a little bit more accepting of differences, right? If my classmate who was 18 years old came up to me screaming and shouting, "Where did his books go?" I think nowadays it's a lot easier to de-escalate that. Say, I'm sorry, I wanted to stand at my desk. Look, here's your books. Let me find another solution. I don't know what would have happened back then because he was so angry. And the concept of wanting to stand at your desk was so foreign at the time. This was in 2005. Um, but tomorrow, if everything that I have acquired, knowledge, material, since 18 completely disappears and I become 18 again, I'd make that trade. I would. And let's pray that that happens. I'm going to go to sleep. And tomorrow, when I wake up, I better not see anything that I've acquired since I was 18. And instead, I'll have an 18-year-old body and I'll start over again. In a way, I'm kind of shooting for that by eating a lot of antioxidants, right? And I don't even have to give up my material, right? What do I have? Almost 4 tons of bismuth, 6,000 ounces of silver, and a bunch of stuff in my Roth IRA, right? I don't have to give all that up just to be 18 again. That's good too, right? I got 26 different elements on the periodic table altogether. I'm hoping to go for a bunch more of the lanthanides, right? I don't have any of those yet. I'm missing mercury and iridium and hafnium and osmium and the lanthanides. And then I'll have I'm hoping with mercury, I'm hoping to get some kind of antique thermometer or barometer as my sample. Mercury. If I have mercury, I'll have, let's see, how many elements in a row on that table? So I got platinum, gold. I'm missing mercury, and then I'll have thallium, lead, bismuth, and a trace amount of polonium. 7 in a row. Right. Once I get that mercury on my hands, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.